It's for everyone to come in. Right, just bear with me. Afternoon. So just allowing a few minutes for people to get in. While we're waiting, I will also put a link to the group call notes in the chat. I've also put it in the group as well. So just something to help guide the discussion over the next 45 minutes. And also, just want to remind people that this is not like a webinar. The goal is just to share information, share knowledge, share value, either from myself or anyone that wants to contribute towards the call. So it really is just a discussion. Um, Everyone should have the ability to send reactions at the bottom of their screen. It should look like a little emoji. John, no problem. I understand. Feel free to even take your video off and just listen if it helps. Don't have to interact. It's totally fine. Can everyone just put a thumbs up emoji or any kind of emoji just to show that see that everyone hears me, sees me all right? Thank you very much. Thank you. Perfect. Okay. All right. We got 9 people in the call. I'm happy with that. Like, let's start. I'm just gonna share my screen as well so we can all see the same notes that I'm working off. All right, so just let everyone know, I do record these sessions and they will go up on YouTube so we can easily watch again. And yeah, that should be all good. Nice. All right. So first, thanks everyone that is on. The goal of these group calls is to create value, connect, and build knowledge together. Um, I've been in the industry for over 6 years now in this space, very much hands-on in terms of the property side of things, but also the care provision side of things. And my focus has been the adult social services side of things, adult safeguarding side of things. Sorry, one sec. I just want to change the screen. Yeah, so very much adult services side of things. At the moment, I'm making efforts to get into the children's space. So initially, that's going to be through a collaboration with a Start Again project, and we're looking at a children's unit, which will be opening in a matter of days now in the Wolverhampton area. And then another project that I'm working on, which is hands-on in terms of it's a provision that we're going to be running ourselves. Is an Ofsted registered provision for children's, which will be in the Staffordshire area. So those are the two things that I'm working on at the moment myself. And essentially with the social housing group, it's just about building connections and meeting likewise people and just as much as possible sharing best practice and not making any mistakes, minimizing the risk, minimizing the opportunities to make mistakes because at the end of the day, this is not like a normal business. It's a business where you have people's lives in your hands, and I'm trying to take that as seriously as possible. And I want to connect with other people that are taking, you know, those roles and responsibilities serious too. I don't know everything, and I'm interested in doing better through shared knowledge. So again, at the end of this is always a discussion. This is just a group call for 45 minutes. We'll get through as much as we can. At any point, if anyone wants to chime in, share their thoughts, even just introduce themselves if it's relevant to anything I've noted or any of the sections that we're on, please feel free to put your hand up, and then we'll speak like that. In the at the moment, yes, I would say the West Midlands more than anything, because I do have interest in terms of like where do we operate. We've got some stuff going on in a few things in Walsall, Dudley, and Wolverhampton. So I can't just say Birmingham, though Birmingham ideally is where I really built my solid basis of work, just because of the support exempt accommodation sector in Birmingham. It operates a little bit differently than these other areas. Once you start going out of Birmingham Council, we have to be looking at either regulated levels of care or some sort of tender. So that would be like asylum seekers, prison leavers, vulnerable families. It has to be something on a tender to operate in the way that we operate outside of Birmingham. Otherwise, you're just basically working on an LHA rate that tends not to be enough to do much. All right, so just introducing again the the social housing group. Like I said, networking and learning through a shared space, that safe space for everyone to talk. Also to encourage people to do more and push more. I noticed that there's a lot of people that are in the social housing space that work and have good careers in the space, but at the same time they don't own their roles. They're just working for other companies, often government companies. And I find that with just a little bit of knowledge, even the careers that they have, even if they don't have any aspirations of creating like big, large businesses, they could at least just own their role. They can open up small homes where they would do what they're doing for others, but in a situation that they control. So my thing is economic empowerment and giving people the knowledge to at least be in control of their situation. I think the group's important because I've noticed that there are other groups available, or there are other spaces where people can talk about these things. But to be honest, I feel like some people act like a bit of a gatekeeper. They hold their cards to their chest. It's almost like if they have some success in this space, they feel like other people entering the space will somehow take food off their plate. But the reality is, there's no shortage of people in need. There's no shortage of people that need even just housing, even just normal people functioning. There's a housing crisis, like there's a shortage. So there'll never be another house that can't be built, or there'll never be another person that can't be helped. But what there can be is insufficiencies, substandard care, substandard housing, and that's what it is my mission to battle against. So by having these open conversations, by being vulnerable myself, letting people know what I'm trying to do and where I'm struggling, it helps to move things forward. So if I can make a small difference, and that's what it's about. Indigit, thank you. Thanks very much. Yeah, definitely. And again, for my provision, typically we look at properties that are ideally an absolute minimum of 5 bedrooms, but 6 to 8 bedroom HMOs. So we encourage people to buy existing HMOs or work in areas where they know they're going to get planning. Typically, we like Selly Oak, Edgbaston, Moseley, Kings Heath at the moment. Selly Oak's working very well for us, and we offer 5-year leases on those properties, and that's for support exempt accommodation. The next level now will be looking at small self-contained blocks for like care leavers 16 to 18. So I would say that's going to be probably the next investment wave, and probably a little bit more sustainable because it's regulated. Whereas with the supported accommodation side of things, a lot of people flooded into that industry, and I would say it probably even contributed to the reason why Birmingham is Article 4 in certain areas now. Thank you, Jamie. Appreciate you too, man. All right, so for this section, I want people to really think about What can you take away from this session, or what can you bring to this session? Remember, our collective knowledge is our strength. So, like I said, feel free to jump in, ask questions. There's no such thing as a silly question. You never know when you might ask something that is like the penny dropping for someone else. And if I don't know it, one thing that I'm good at is knowing where to go for it. So I don't claim to know everything, but I know where to find it 100%. All right. So just a little discussion about current market challenges in social housing. And I definitely would love to hear other people's opinions on this particular section. So, trends and changes. I'm just going to read through the notes that I've created because it just helps to jog my memory on that. Social housing market has seen significant shifts in their funding policies. All right. You know what? Let me even just stop right there. Um, it's so it's funny the things that will change and how they will affect the industry. So, one of the areas that I can speak most confidently on is Birmingham City Council and support exempt accommodation for adults. And one of the major changes that I've seen recently is we actually benefited from a 50% discount in council tax when delivering that service. And we've seen that one major RSL has taken away that subsidy because it was taken away from them in recent times. Recent times being like they told us last month, and those changes will start taking effect from this month cycle. So that's going to be a November cycle. My council tax bill over about 30 houses will just double overnight. Because of the size of my organization, we can work with it. We have no choice. We have to. But for some people, that might not be something that they can absorb. And there are more of these little policy changes coming in. And that's just in one council on one level. I can only imagine some of the other changes that are coming in that are going to have some serious effects. Um, Another thing that I've noticed as well when we're talking about policies are they're becoming a lot more particular about how properties are managed. So the support exempt accommodation size up and down the country is actually unregulated. It's unregulated but monitored quite heavily. So it's almost as if they are treating you as if you are regulated, want the same things, audit on that level, but there were no official governing bodies that you had to go under. At best, it was voluntary. But now we're starting to see that it seems like there's going to need to be some kind of licensing or some sort of regulatory body that does, start really checking how people are performing and making sure that they're all above board. So those levels are starting to come in now, and with that becomes basically more expenditure, making the industry a lot tighter, margins a lot tighter, and some people are going to have to question whether it's viable for them. So that would definitely fall under the demands and the pressures and compliance requirements. Like I said, it's not enough to simply provide housing. It needs to have that element of support and community integration. This is why for Crossroads, we really work hard to tap into the community because we know that we have to go above minimal. And we want to create a situation where anytime we're looked at, anytime the council do any checks on us, any audits on us, they can open the book and close the book because they know we are the benchmark in terms of what quality support and community involvement looks like. One of the things that helps us do that is pulling down funding from organisations like Sports England, the Lottery Fund, which is available to anyone. The lottery fund alone will give organizations, ideally a CIC, but even just like grassroots community groups, £10,000 pretty easy to run community initiatives. And I'll be honest, if it wasn't for that kind of funding to do those kind of things like boxing clubs, health and fitness, cooking classes, all that kind of stuff there, with the money alone that the council provide, would be very difficult. So I'm always an advocate for supplementing anything you do with grant funding. Like it's a must. Like if it's not necessary now, it will be further on down the line. If anyone wants to ask about that, or if anyone already taps into it, I would be interested in learning more about it, and I can share the little information that I do have. Jamie's asked in the group, how am I finding the process with children's home and getting set up with Ofsted? I'm in the early stages with that at the moment. I think the biggest thing that I'm seeing is staffing at all levels. So two of the key components for a children's home is an RI, registered individual, and an RM, registered manager. Um, I've seen that everyone approaches the entrance into this space differently. But I personally have started by finding a decent RI, someone that I think is gonna be the one that we need to take us through to that whole level. But RMs right now, the term is they're like gold dust. They're very hard. They're very hard to find. Very expensive when you do find them, and in some cases they can be make or break. Like a bad RM, basically a bad manager for any provision, can really tear it down. And I find that if unless you've got a good operational side, that can also be make or break for any provision. Operationally, meaning who's the director team, how involved are they? It can't just be I've got money, I'm putting the money in, and the team will handle it. Because you'll find that you'll put the money in, leave it in what you believe is able hands, and then realize that you've looked away and they've teared it down, and now you've got serious problems because you're also liable to an extent. So operational teams are important. Those are people that are not necessarily even health and social focused. They have the care, but they know how to actually run a business. Most people in the health and social care space are great at delivering great care, have all the best intentions in the world, but not necessarily experienced in actually running the business. So the process is going good. It's a slow process, but the more I get into it, the more I start to see how things fail further on down the line. And I would dare to say that there's a lot of people setting up today that won't last 5 years. And I'm hearing as well that there's a lot of people that probably get past the first or second Ofsted registration, and then by the third it's inadequate. And then, you know, after one or two serious incidents, they're actually being forced to close down. But that's another thing about this industry. You'll hear people talking on the way up, but they're very quiet on the way down. So it's very important to, like all things in life, just run your race, move forward with the best intentions, make friends, but just run your race. Don't look left, don't look right, because often people won't tell you when they're struggling, and you just probably won't even know. Um, Biggest obstacles, yeah, many people are facing issues like inconsistent funding, and that's at all levels. I think you'll find that even when councils are going through problems of their own, I don't know if it's on purpose or it's somehow indirectly related, but you'll see that even like payment dates can move. So if you're on a 4 to 5 week cycle where every 4 to 5 weeks you expect to be paid by the council or the governing body that is supposed to be paying for a placement, that could easily start slipping to like 6 to 8. And you'll find that there's often no explanation. It's just kind of you're at their whim. You can't control that kind of stuff there. So that's one of the things that I've faced in the past. We're doing all right at the moment, but I don't know if it's like them having to sort out their cash flow issues internally. But sometimes it can look like that. All right, we're up to 14 people. Thanks everyone for joining. I know it's a Sunday, so I appreciate your time. We will finish on time today. And like I said, the point of this call is just to share knowledge, share information. At any point, anybody can jump in, talk, and the goal is just to leave this with a little bit more, a few more steps to the puzzle. So yeah, funding, staff shortages. Staff shortages is a big thing. Staff shortages is affecting me now. to be honest. Even on the adult social care side of things, it's a little bit easier, I would say, maybe to find staff to cover the adults because it's a little bit more forgiving. When you're working with children, there's no room for no error, no leeway. The adults is a little bit different. But right now, one of most like my minimum pay for staff is around £12 an hour, and I have one that is from a recruitment agency. It's necessary. I need to make sure my residents are supported. I'm paying about £20.50 per hour for that one person. So they're taking like two. It's like two people worth of staffing costs in one. Thanks for the questions, Jamie. Let me just answer this. So, how am I finding good RIs, salary or profit share? So fortunately, I think because of how I put myself out there, and there's a lot of content that I've produced that people can go back on and almost buy into my journey and understand what I'm about. I found that it's a little bit easier for me to speak to people and not focus on the money, because from the salary is fair, or the whatever their remuneration is going to be is fair. They're happier to be a part of the journey because they know it's genuine. You know what I mean? Versus you might find someone like an RI or an RM or any member of staff, and you don't want to throw money at that situation too much, because it then becomes a bit of a bidding war, and it kind of takes away the purpose of even setting up these units. The goal should always be, we want to help people. We want to make sure our bills are paid. We want to make a profit if it's a business. And we want to make sure that we're not below whatever the market rate should be. But after the money's sorted, it shouldn't be, oh, I know I can get more over there, so I'm jumping ship. It should more so be, I know I'm part of a good team that's run well and a place where I can actually do what I set out to do in this industry. So in terms of finding good RIs, conversation's been the best thing. I've had to speak to about 20 people, whittle it down to five based on just the energy and how our relationship was. And now we're in a good place. But when you speak about profit share, one thing that I have done or will implement for anyone that I work with is the idea of, looking at what their dreams are, and then seeing how, if they can help us reach our milestones, how we can then help them to reach theirs. So that's how we're finding good staff, by basically trying to invest in them as much as possible and show them that it's not just one sided. It's not just a job. It's something that's going to help them to grow going forward. I'm not trying to hold anybody in a place. And yeah, 100%, Jamie. Please, everyone, please put questions in the chat. And if you got anything if you want to say anything, if you want to jump in, if you're a recruiter, if you work in the industry, happy to hear your experiences of what's going on. Yeah, we've only got 20 minutes left of this, so make the most of it. All right. Is it worth looking externally and abroad for staffing? I have not tapped into that, though I know a lot of people that do. I see it more on the domiciliary care side of things. So when it comes to dom care, you have somebody else would have to kind of educate us a little bit more, but I've seen a lot of staff from Africa and India coming through on sponsorship programs. I think it's good because typically you'll find that staff from abroad are hardworking. I think the negative of it is they don't have the same. There's a culture clash. You'll find there's a culture clash. So I've even tried to use staff from Africa to work with our adult residents. I only tried it once, with a recruitment agency, but I found that it's just, even if highly qualified, decent people, all that kind of stuff there, but if my average tenant type is a middle-aged white male from Birmingham, it becomes a clash just in terms of like communication and just little nuances that you'd only know if you're from, the city, from the, even if we're just talking from the city. I've had staff that come from like other areas further up north come down here, and they don't know where certain things are or how certain things operate. So I would think domiciliary care works well in, because essentially you have someone who is has a high level illness or sickness or some kind of ailment that they just need someone to come and look after them, like CQC level. Or it could be someone that is like elderly, needs someone to help them eat, wash, medication. It works a little bit better on that side of things. But if we're talking, you need to sit down, you need to connect with someone, and based on your connection is how well they're going to move forward and develop in life. I would keep it internal, 100%. Keep it better internal. But yes, at the moment, I'll give a shout out to Halima at Kenwood Recruitment. We do use them. We also use Brook Street. Brook Street Social Care is pretty good as well. Bit expensive, but they do have the people and they will help us. Um, Amjad. So, what's your advice for people to get into the sector? Um, Two sides to it. If you're a landlord, I would say be involved in these discussions. Let people know what you have, um, and start to understand the best use cases for each property. So I would say anything under a 5 bed, it's not really ideal for any kind of HMO based service. It can work, but you'd have to do it case by case. Five and up ideally should be used for some kind of HMO based service, especially within inner city areas like within Birmingham. If you've got properties that are a bit bigger in greener locations, they lend themselves well to children's residential. If you've got like anything under a 4 bed inside of a city centre area or close to a city centre, that lends itself well to things like families. Um, but don't make people fool you into thinking anything can be used for anything, especially when we're dealing with property sources, because often property sources are just middlemen and they don't really know the best use cases for the properties. It's almost like they just kind of throw it up against the wall and see what sticks. So, as a property consultant for the social housing space, I give people quick no's. I'll often ask people to send me an address. I'll have a look at it on Google Maps, and I'll just know pretty quickly what can and can't work on those properties. And we just have to be realistic. It also helps to be realistic about rental rates as well, whether you're a landlord offering the property and also a care provider taking the property. Okay. Regarding getting started in the industry, is it essential to have larger properties, HMOs? That's natty. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. It doesn't. You don't have to have a larger property or larger HMOs. You can start with like a 3 or 4 bed, but just know that it has to be very lean. So ideally, you'd be getting a great rent on those properties. Like it can't be. So typically, I like to pay somewhere around £400 per room per month. But you might find that if that's a 3 bed, that's £1,200. But the market rate of that 3 bed might be like £700-800. So you won't be able to make it work if the market rate is lower than what you're paying for the bed space, because it's essentially paying over the odds. But if you can actually get it at the market rate and then get a higher rate per room, then it makes sense. So if you're just starting, if you're just getting in, the first property that I had was a 3 bed that I separated one of the lounges and turned it into a 4 bed. And I still have that today. And it's actually one of my best performing properties only because I'm getting it at the market rate. But if you're speaking to a landlord who wants to increase the price on an already lower value property, then it's not gonna work. Can you start with a 3 bed? That's Amjad. Sorry, a 4 bed. Yes, you can. If you're a landlord, yes, you can. What I would probably say though is just work with a sourcer, work with someone, one of the sources in the group, or even just come to myself, and I can put it out there for you. Or I often work with sources or have my own database of contacts that we can put them out to. And then when that interest comes in, we vet them. Well, what do you want to do with the property? How long are you going to take it for? Who are you giving it to? How, like, have you got any other example? Like we go through a vetting process to make sure it makes sense what they want to use it for, and it's not just someone trying to use your property, and that's probably going to end up giving it back before the end of the term in a poor condition. Jamie, have you found issue with the market rate increasing and general rate staying the same? Yes, 100%. But to be honest, I'm at a point now where I just don't play the game. We have our fixed prices, and people know that we offer a great service. It's award winning. We're registered directly with the council. That we our provision can be found on the council website. We can show examples. We can take landlords to our properties. So we're offering confidence in what we do. We're not competing on rent. We're not competing on the rates that we offer. We offer a good rate, a fair rate, and peace of mind knowing that the property is going to be used properly, managed properly, and we can stand on the leases that we offer. I don't believe that most people can give the level of confidence that we do. So we can't afford to compete on price. We can't afford it. Our rates are fixed, like James says. The rates are fixed. They're fixed by housing benefit. We can't compete, and we can't go beyond half of what we're paid to pay for a room. £400 is that with an ensuite from Neil. So it doesn't necessarily have to be. The lowest that we typically pay is around about £350 per room, depending on quality and size and all those kind of things. There, £400. All right. Ideally, we would want to see a double room with an ensuite, but it's not. It's not. You know what I mean? It more depends on where the property is located, what the demand is like in that location. Do we have to do any work to the property? Is it coming already done? So if it's a property in Selly Oak that was already a HMO, it might be a 6 bed with 3 bathrooms, 2 bathrooms and 1 toilet. It wouldn't be hard for us to pay £400 in that location because we know that the occupancy is going to be strong. Whereas if it was outside of those locations, we might have to come down from 400 because we know that 1 or 2 rooms are always going to be a struggle to fill. So now we're just talking about the business of rent to rent and HMO properties. Sometimes you just have to, go accordingly to what you believe the occupancy is going to do. So yeah. All right. So just quick value point. On that section. First of all, is everyone finding this useful? Just by like any emoji, let me know if there's some takeaways that people are getting. Thank you, thank you. So I'm just trying to get onto the screen where I can see. Sorry, if somebody had their hand up, I don't know if that was an accident, but feel free to speak if you did. Okay, it's all good. One sec. So yeah, keeping up to date with policy changes. Local authority updates are great. So whichever council that you operate in or want to operate in, they're gonna have a website. They're gonna have the little bit where you put your email in. They've also a lot of them have got like Instagrams, and even like their partner their partner bodies that work with the council. So for example, BVSC. BVSC is a great one. We're registered with BVSC, and that's a Birmingham Voluntary. You know what? Let me just get the page up before I say the wrong thing. 1 second. 1 second. Because I think everyone should kind of probably know about BVSC, to be honest with you. Give me a sec. Birmingham Voluntary Service Council. Birmingham Voluntary Service Council. Anyone doing anything in Birmingham should know about BVSC. BVSC also is used as a vehicle to distribute funding. Let me see if I can just find this quickly because it is worth knowing. Let me type it in this way. BVSC funding. So when you got like top government and they're going to distribute, however many £1 million to help tackle homelessness and this, that, the third, it's often through companies, well, organizations like this. So like when there's millions of pounds of funding, but nobody ever knows um, how to even access it or where that funding even comes from. It's these kind of organizations that get it. Get this. Engage for Funding is a funding search portal available to BVSC members whose annual turnover is less than 1 million. Registration will give you immediate, free, and unrestricted access to comprehensive databases of funding opportunities. I'll put this in the group, but it's this kind of stuff that we need to know about. Jamie, you got some hesitation around BVSC. What you saying about him? Feel free to speak if it's quicker. I'm good, man. I'm good. Yeah, yeah. Can hear you all good. Yeah, and I think it's one of them ones where not even they get it right because even Birmingham itself as a council is what is it under regulatory now? Yeah, for the, yeah, hmm, definitely. Yeah, yeah. Don't say too much. And for those listening, Jamie's got like extensive experience in working at different parts of council level and um, on the ground, in the office, actually being the person that goes out there when bad things do happen in these properties. Um, so he knows what he's talking about. And sometimes I even wonder myself, like, how is it that some properties get passed off and they've got obvious health and safety concerns, and some other properties, like I've been told to like paint walls to make it more aesthetically pleasing. You know what I mean? Over, I know some properties probably don't even have the right fire doors and all these kind of things there, and so I think it's consistency is a bit wishy washy in the industry at times. Um, but as a organization to get information from to leverage and benefit yourself as an organization, for some reason they've got the access. So it's definitely important to tap in 100%. All right, let me get back to the other tab. All right, so we're finishing off section two. Yeah, keeping up to date with the policy changes. Um, And to be honest, one of the best ways I do that is speaking to guys like Jamie, people that are just in the industry. And sometimes we don't all get the same information at the same time. And sometimes you won't get the information when you need it. You'll get the information when they put it out. But the reality is, you want to be ahead of the curve. So by everyone sharing information and speaking, sometimes you get information slightly ahead. So, like for example, I said about today, one of the things that's affected us is they've basically taken away our subsidy on council tax, which is about to kick in and double the amount of council tax payments I'm making a month. Um, but that's not necessarily all our results, or some people may be pushing back in certain other places, but it might be something that's going to affect everyone soon. But I've said it now, so at least you can have that in your head. If you run a provision that has some sort of subsidy, if somebody says that they're losing their subsidy, expect that at some point down the line, yours may be going, and it gives you a chance to prepare for that kind of stuff there. Just conscious of the time, got 3 minutes left, and I do want to be strict on I want to be strict on time. So anything that we don't finish on this session can easily roll over to another one. Because we've got 3 minutes, I will pass that, and I will go to I'll go to section 7. Might as well. We've only got a few minutes left. Does anybody have any questions or anything that they want to talk about? It doesn't have to be connected to anything that's been said so far. But I just want to give anyone the opportunity to shout out, or even just introduce yourself, let people know what you do if you feel that could be beneficial to yourself. Okay. All right. So yeah. So just to finish off, um, just to let you know a bit more about what we do. Just to summarize. So today we spoke more on best practice. One of the reasons for all of this is to allow people to connect, allow people to talk. We spoke more on trends and changes. Um, there's a lot of shifts happening in this industry at the moment. Even in the children's side, I'm seeing that. I think it's Wales is considering or having talks about introducing caps to the amount that they're paying out, because in some cases they are pretty excessive, and it seems like they're overpaying on some of these placements, or they're trying to close placements earlier when they would have paid out a bit more willingly past the age of 18, for care leavers. They're now trying to force them basically into the adult side of things, adult social care services, a bit like what I do with the adults in Birmingham, which I guess from a just an economic point of view makes sense. But often you'll find that most of these young people are just not ready. So that's where organisations like St. Basil's come in. St. Basil's is probably one of the biggest ones when it comes to dealing with young people. And those organisations, I would say, are vital, because without that step, you've got people that are not ready for the world, grew up in care, having their funding cut, and then sent straight into situations that are essentially just going to see them fail. So that's something that we need to be mindful of. Okay, so just to close off, there's a link for the social housing group on the presentation that I've sent. Please share it. Please share it with anyone that has any interest in the social housing space as a landlord and as a provider, or works within the social housing space. You see what we do here. You see what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to grow the community more, so that anytime we need any help, anytime we need any assistance, anytime we've got any opportunities, we can share it amongst ourselves and move forward positively. Anyone that wants any private consultancy, please give me a shout. I do one-to-one mentoring sessions, and I intend to do these group sessions once a month. Again, it helps people to know me. It helps me to know people, and sometimes you don't realize how much. Sometimes just even talking through things and speaking to people and sharing your own thoughts helps you to kind of bring it all together and get a level of understanding. It's like that the saying where they say those who can teach it, within that you're also teaching yourself. And for me, this is me teaching myself, and getting rounded understandings of different concepts and things. So appreciate everyone that takes part in it. Thank you for taking part today. Thank you very much. Enjoy your day, everyone. Take care. Take care.